is Erica, and I'm not a zinester. I'm the Assistant Bookbinder in Preservation Services at the National Library of Australia, and I'm the one that gets zines ready for our collection. As you will see a little later on, we get all sorts of items in our zine collection. And the bindings that they come in are very simple. Usually they're stitched with either thread or ribbon or wool, but the worst ones are the ones that come stapled or with rubber bands, because those staples and the rubber bands deteriorate, and then they deteriorate the paper of the zine. Zines are not expected to have a very long lifespan. But from the library's point of view and the collection's point of view, we try to maintain the integrity and longevity of the item, so that in the future, people will be able to look at what is in our collection. But first of all, let's start by finding out what exactly is a zine, who makes them, and why does the National Library collect
Fanzines started life in the 1920s and 1930s as a way for science fiction enthusiasts to talk amongst themselves and share their passion with each other. So they were very non-mainstream, non-commercial, self-published, and they developed during that period, and one of the earliest Australian fanzines was in the early 1950s, and it was distributed at the first Australian Science Fiction Convention, which was held in the early 1950s. During that time, fanzines sort of developed further and moved into the music industry, again as a way for passionate enthusiasts about rock music to talk about things with each other, and as an alternative to what was being produced commercially, because it didn't really meet their needs or illustrate their interests. So it grew even more popular in the 1970s with the punk music scene, and it also started to develop further into more personal things as well, and to reflect other interests. And it dropped the word fan and became zines, as it moved from being just fans of a particular genre talking amongst each other and became people talking about all sorts of things. They're very spontaneous, they're in a variety of formats. Some are intended to be distributed amongst a group of people, some are really just a particular person wanting to put their thoughts and their ideas and their creativity down in a way that they don't have any other means of doing so. So zines come in a huge variety of shapes and sizes. Some are created in small groups during zine workshops, and they're often distributed at zine distros and zine fairs. So they're the sort of thing that's quite difficult for libraries to collect because they don't fall into any of those mainstream channels.
I'm an artist who works with letterpress and printmaking and bookbinding. Zine is a very low-tech publication. It's usually either hand-made, hand-typed, handmade, usually photocopied, sometimes inkjet printed, sometimes laser printed. If it's too highly, if the production values are too high, it's not a zine anymore. If it's bound in a fancy way, apart from the simple pamphlet stitch, it probably would be regarded as a zine anymore. It needs to be low tech, so you're talking sticky tape, staples, paper clips, simple pamphlet stitch at the moment. Zines have to be low tech, under the radar. Well, they're not really under the radar anymore, but they were proud to be under the radar years ago. And the more there seems to be a competition. The more low tech you can make it, the funkier it is.
Why is the National Library interested in zines? Why might we want to take these into our collection? We try and reflect the whole gamut of publishing in Australia. So we don't want to just show what's commercially produced. We want to show those small press and those spontaneous and creative things that Australian citizens are producing. So we can never hope to collect all of the zines that are produced out there because there are just so many, but what we do hope to do is get a representative sample just to illustrate the sort of things that are being produced, the type of subject matter and also the styles. But of course the nature of the way zines are produced means that they present a real preservation challenge for an organisation like the National Library. So zines might be full of staples and sticky tape and paper clips, and they might contain things like musk sticks or stickers and all sorts of things that we have to think about preserving for the long term, because we don't just want to put it on the shelf now, we want somebody to be able to use it in 50 or 100 years. And of course, zinesters love photocopiers and they love staples and they love paper clips and sticky tape. So we've got a real tension there between the creativity of the zinester and preserving the original look of the item and also making sure that it's not destroyed over time.
In fact, when you see the plethora of zines out there, it's hard to know what to collect, and I recommend that everyone chooses for their own love and go for it. You know, I collect complaining zines and quirky zines, and other people complain letter zines, but letters to people, and other people collect drawing zines, or so because they are a complete snapshot of now and 5 years ago and tomorrow and 10 years ago. And you look at the way people fetishize Fluxus. The Fluxus events happened in the 60s, and there are supposedly they were meant to be in the now, and they're meant to be no traces of them, but the collections and Red Book librarians are fighting each other for traces of Fluxus these days, and that'll be the same with zines. Zinesters can be anybody. I have met zinesters who have professional jobs and they do anonymous zines because they don't want anyone to know that they are zining, and they'll wear suits. Zinesters can be people who just see one in a shop and decide they can start one. Pretty much anyone can be a zinester, and in fact zinesters tend to have attitude. They don't care about being collected, or they love being collected, but they don't care about whether they make things professional and whether the sticky tape will go yellow or whatever. It's a badge of honour that you make it for now, you make it for your mates, you get collected. I've known people to make zines and leave them anonymously in cafes. This fellow who did Plastic Knife, they talk about leaving things in cafes and people never knowing who reads their zines, never knowing where they end up. It's not about the collecting, it's about the voice getting out there.
We'll be using my kitchen bench because it's the most convenient place in the house. You will probably already have different threads and tapes. What you'll really need is an awl and a hole punch. You can never be without those. Your zine will probably have 2 or more pages. Start by punching a hole in the middle of a section. The next 2 holes will be at the head and tail of your section. Get your thread from the head right through to the tail and then pass through the middle. After that, you'll be able to make a knot. Make sure that the threads that come out of the middle hole pass either side of the long stitch and then make a secure knot. And hey presto, there's a beautifully sewn zine. Here are some different types of thread. I'm sure you probably have quite a variety at home. At the end of the day, any thread is better than staples, sticky tape or paper clips, because as they deteriorate, they will also deteriorate your work, and this is what we want to avoid. Stab sewing is a quick and easy way to secure quite a few sheets of paper together. Stack your paper well along the spine, and then with your awl make 5 evenly spaced holes. For convenience sake, you can clip your little stack together before you do more work. At this time, just measure out some thread, and what I've done is I've actually doubled up my thread so you can see it. And bring your little stack close to the edge of your bench, because it makes it easier to work. And basically you'll be sewing in and out, starting from the top, going in and up, out, up and down, until you get to the end, and then you just reverse the sewing pattern. If you haven't accidentally sewn through the thread on your way up and down and in and out of the holes, at this stage you'll be able to pull the thread firmly so that the stack is nice and firm, and then make a knot, and hey voila, all done. This type of Japanese binding is merely decorative. I'm placing roughly 4 evenly spaced holes, and as you'll be able to follow, I'll just be sewing in and out in a pattern that is in the Japanese style, but is not true Japanese binding. However, it is very decorative and will hold the zine together, and is quite quick to do.
I'm now at my workbench in the bindery of the Preservation Lab at the National Library. Most of the techniques that you've seen in this short film are used to rehouse zines to make them ready for their long stay in our collection. We know that zines are ephemeral, that they are a snapshot of a particular time in our society, and that they are made from everyday items. In preservation, we look to the future. We think about how future generations will retain access to this material and to the information contained in the zines in 50, 100 or more years' time. So while sewing 200 zines may take a lot of effort and might take a lot longer than stapling 200 zines, I'd like to ask zinesters to think on the future and be prepared to make your zines collection ready. Thanks.